Have you ever felt like, just when you started believing your life was about to change, everything started to go wrong? As if the universe had turned against you at the exact moment you decided to trust, vibrate positivity, and follow the signs of the law of attraction? If this has happened to you, or is happening now, stay with me until the end, because what you discover may deeply surprise you. Many people who begin practicing the law of attraction with faith and enthusiasm encounter a curious and, at first glance, frightening phenomenon: the crash before the turn. It's that moment when everything seems to fall apart. Relationships falter, opportunities disappear, money vanishes, and even health seems to falter. And then comes the doubt. Am I doing something wrong? Or worse, does this really work? But what if I told you that this apparent chaos could be exactly the sign that your reality is reorganizing itself to deliver what you asked for? The break before the turnaround isn't a punishment, it's a process, an energetic adjustment. When you begin to vibrate at a higher frequency, prosperity, abundance, fulfillment, everything that isn't aligned with this new vibration begins to fall away. And this can be uncomfortable. It may feel like you're losing everything, but in reality, you're being prepared. The universe is clearing the ground so that the new reality can manifest with strength and consistency. Have you ever been there? That moment when it seems like everything is going wrong, but deep down something tells you it's just a phase, that there's something bigger going on behind the scenes. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about here. And understanding this process can be the key to getting through this period with more confidence, clarity, and faith. The law of attraction isn't instant magic. It's a dance between what you vibrate with and what you're willing to let go. And often, before you receive what you asked for, you need to make room. And making room in practice can mean losing things, people, habits, and even certainties you've carried for years. It's as if the universe is saying, do you want prosperity? Then let's remove everything that's holding you back. And then the cleansing begins, the shattering, the collapse, but also the rebirth. What few people talk about, and what you'll understand better now, is that this moment of apparent disorder is actually a turning point, a portal, an invitation to trust even more, to keep your vibration high even when everything seems to be falling apart, because it's at this exact point that many give up, and it's also where those who persist begin to see miracles happen. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll understand why this process is so common among people manifesting a new reality. Together, we'll explore the signs, patterns, and lessons behind the breakdown before the breakthrough. And perhaps, by the end of this video, you'll look at your own journey differently, with more courage, more faith, and more awareness of the power you carry, because what comes next is even more transformative. And as you absorb all of this, you might feel that lump in your throat, that mixture of fear and hope that appears when the soul begins to understand that it's facing something greater. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what resonated most with you so far. Sharing your experience, your feelings, or even your questions can help others going through the same process. And it also shows me that this content is reaching where it needs to. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this kind of message. Every like, every comment, every subscription is like a spreading vibration, creating a network of awareness and transformation. And if you feel like continuing this journey with me, subscribe to the channel right now. This way, you won't miss future content and will also strengthen this community that believes in prosperity, connection with the universe, and the power of the mind. This space is for us to grow together, learn together, and navigate these broken moments with more light and understanding. So, if something resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Write it down below, let your heart speak, because sometimes a simple phrase from you can be the sign someone was waiting for to not give up. And now that you've started to see this process in a different light, let's dive even deeper. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding what's behind the crash before the turnaround requires us to understand clearly and without mystery what the law of attraction really is. Many people have heard of it, but few stop to reflect on the real impact this principle can have on our journey. And no, it's not about magic or repeating ready-made phrases, hoping the universe will magically deliver everything. The law of attraction is, in essence, an energetic response to your vibration, and this has everything to do with mindset, decisions, and even the backstory of your personal story. Imagine your thoughts are like magnets. Everything you believe, feel, and repeat internally emits a frequency, and this frequency attracts experiences that are in tune with it. If you vibrate scarcity, fear, or doubt, the universe responds with situations that reinforce that vibration. But when you start shifting your energy, when you decide to vibrate prosperity, trust, and gratitude, something starts to move. And that's where many people get scared, because movement doesn't always come with flowers and rainbows. Sometimes it comes with loss, discomfort, and ruptures. And that's not a mistake. It's part of the process. The hidden truth behind the law of attraction is that it doesn't just deliver what you desire, it delivers what you're ready to sustain. And being ready often means undergoing a profound transformation. It's as if the universe is saying, do you want a new reality? Then let's remove everything that doesn't fit with it. And this cleansing can be intense. It can affect your emotions, your relationships, your inner structure. But it's precisely at this point that the turning point begins to take shape. The break in this context is not the end. It's the initial impact of a frequency shift. It's the moment when the old begins to dissolve so the new can emerge. And that takes courage, because maintaining a high vibration while everything seems to be falling apart is one of the greatest challenges of this journey. But it's also what differentiates those who merely know the law of attraction from those who truly live this principle consciously. When you understand that thoughts are magnets, you begin to realize that every choice, every reaction, and every belief is shaping your reality. And this gives you power, a silent but transformative power, because you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the creator of your experience. And even in moments of failure, you begin to see signs, small revelations that show that something bigger is aligning, and that changes everything. The law of attraction isn't about controlling the universe, it's about aligning with it. It's about recognizing that there's a greater intelligence operating behind the scenes, and that this intelligence responds to your vibration precisely, not with judgments, but with mirrors. What you send out, you receive. What you believe, you live. And when this truth begins to make sense, you don't just attract things, you attract higher versions of yourself. This is the foundation of change. It's not about achieving something external. It's about becoming someone who vibrates in tune with what you desire. And this inevitably requires a break with what no longer serves you. A break that, though painful, is liberating, because it opens space, it reveals, it prepares, and it is in this space that prosperity truly begins to flourish. Comment below, this resonates with me, just so I know this conversation is reaching you in a way that resonates, because when we share what we feel, the journey becomes lighter. And now that this foundation is clear, there's something even deeper I want to show you. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the breakdown before the turning point is like opening a window into the behind the scenes of transformation. It's that moment when everything seems out of control, but in reality it's the universe rearranging the pieces of your internal puzzle. And this isn't just beautiful to hear, it's intense to experience. Most people who begin to embrace a new reality, especially when it comes to prosperity, go through this breaking point. And it's no coincidence. There's a hidden truth in this process that few have the courage to face. Before something blossoms, there's almost always a breakdown. It's like the silence before the storm, a moment of apparent calm that precedes a great movement, or like labor before birth, a moment of pain, of effort, of total surrender, which paves the way for something new and powerful. The breaking point is this point of impact. It comes when you begin to vibrate differently, when your mindset shifts, when your decisions begin to reflect a new version of you. And then, everything that isn't in tune with this new vibration begins to unravel. It could be a job that no longer makes sense, a friendship that holds you back, an emotional pattern that limits you. And when these things begin to crumble, it's natural to feel fear. But this fear isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're moving forward. The manifestation journey isn't linear. It's made of curves, detours, and unexpected revelations. And breaking through is one of those curves. It forces you to look inward, to revise beliefs, to let go of control. Because for something new to enter, the old must leave. And this process can be uncomfortable, yes, but it's also liberating. It's at this point that you begin to realize you're not just attracting things, you're attracting higher versions of yourself. And this has a profound impact, because it's not just about achieving something external, but about becoming someone capable of sustaining what you desire. Breaking down often comes with difficult decisions, cuts, closures, changes that seem drastic. But when you understand that this is part of the preparation, everything changes. You begin to see meaning in the chaos. You begin to realize that the universe isn't punishing you, it's aligning you. It's pushing you out of your comfort zone so you can occupy the space you've been seeking. And this space requires a new attitude, a new energy, a new awareness. The break also reveals what was hidden. It brings to light patterns you hadn't seen, emotions you'd repressed, truths you'd avoided. And this is essential, because only when you clearly see what needs to be transformed can you truly change. It's as if the universe shines a light in the dark corners of your mind, showing you what needs to be healed, released, and redefined. And this clarity, however uncomfortable it may be, is a gift. It's at this point that many give up, because the pain of breaking can be intense, but it's also at this point that the most conscious choose to continue. They choose to trust. They choose to maintain a high vibration even when everything seems to be falling apart. And this choice is powerful because it shows the universe that you are ready to receive, to sustain, to experience the transformation you've asked for. Comment below, I'm on this journey too, just so I know this conversation resonates with you. Because when we recognize we're not alone in this process, everything feels lighter. And now that you've started to see the breakdown through different eyes, there's something even more revealing I want to show you. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding what's behind the breakdown before the turning point requires us to look more closely at one of the most subtle and powerful processes of manifestation, energetic cleansing. And no, it's not something mystical or distant. It's real, it's practical, and it happens inside and outside of you. When you begin to vibrate prosperity, everything that isn't prosperity begins to leave your life. And this may seem contradictory, because what leaves isn't always visibly negative. Sometimes it's things you liked, people you trusted, situations that seemed stable. But the universe doesn't work with appearances. It responds to vibration. This cleansing is like a deep reorganization. It's as if you're renovating your inner home. And for new furniture to come in, the old ones have to go. But unlike a physical renovation, this energetic shift affects emotions, beliefs, and patterns that have been ingrained for years. And when they begin to dissolve, you feel it. You feel it in your body, in your mind, in your routine. It's as if everything is being pulled out, and for a moment, you no longer know where to step. But this discomfort is part of the transformation. It's the natural impact of an internal decision you've made, the decision to live a new reality. And the universe, recognizing this choice, begins to act. It begins to cleanse, remove, and adjust. And this may include situations you didn't expect. It may include losses that seem unfair. But when you understand that everything that leaves is making room for something greater, the pain begins to make sense. You begin to see purpose in the chaos. This stage of the journey is a silent one. Few talk about it, because it's not glamorous. It's not easy to explain, and often it's not understood even by those experiencing it. But it's essential. It's behind the scenes of this cleansing that the true turning point begins to take shape. It's there, amidst the confusion, that you begin to free yourself from what was limiting you. And this liberation isn't always smooth. Sometimes it comes with ruptures, with difficult decisions, with sleepless nights, but also with revelations, with clarity, with strength. The hidden truth is that prosperity isn't just about receiving. It's first and foremost about sustaining. And to sustain a new vibration, you need to be clean. You need to be aligned. You need to be available. And that's what energetic cleansing does. It prepares you. It empties you of what doesn't serve you, so you can be filled with what truly matters. And this filling doesn't happen from the outside in. It starts within you, in your mindset, in your frequency, in your willingness to trust the process. That's why, when everything starts to go wrong, it can be exactly the moment when everything starts to fall into place. Because what seems wrong may actually be what was holding you back. And when that goes away, you feel the impact. But you also begin to feel a sense of lightness. You begin to realize that you're freer, more aware, more connected to what you truly desire. And this connection is what transforms everything. Comment below, this makes sense to me, just so I know this conversation is touching on something real inside you. Because when we acknowledge what's happening, even if we don't understand everything yet, it's already a huge step toward a change. And now that this cleansing is starting to make sense, there's something even deeper I want to show you. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a point in the journey that few recognize as an essential part of the manifestation process, the test. Yes, the universe tests, not as punishment, but as confirmation. It's as if it's asking, silently and intensely, are you truly ready to live what you asked for? And this test doesn't come with signs or warnings. It comes disguised as chaos, doubt, and situations that seem to contradict everything you believed you were building. But it's precisely there that emotional consistency and faith are put to the test. These difficult moments, when everything seems to fall apart, are like portals, and going through them requires more than knowledge. It requires surrender. Joe Dispenza speaks clearly about this. When you begin to vibrate a new reality, your body, mind, and energy field are still conditioned to the old, and the universe, sensing this attempt at change, begins to reorganize everything. But this reorganization can feel like a collapse. It's the old resisting the exit. It's the ego trying to maintain control, and that's where the test occurs. Neville Goddard also said that true faith is that which remains even when the senses deny the desired reality. In other words, when everything around you seems to say it won't work, that's when you need to affirm internally, it already has. And that's not easy, because the mind wants proof, the heart wants guarantees. But manifestation doesn't work with external certainties, it feeds on internal conviction. And this conviction is what the universe is testing. These tests aren't random, they're precise. They touch exactly where you still doubt, where you still hesitate, where you haven't yet allowed yourself to fully trust. And when you choose to navigate these moments with awareness, something changes. You begin to realize that you're not being challenged to give up, but to strengthen your vibration, to solidify your new identity, to prove to yourself that you're ready to sustain what you've asked for. It's as if the universe is saying, you want prosperity, then let's see how you react to scarcity. Or, you want freedom, then let's see how you handle pressure. And these situations aren't cruel, they're revealing. They show where there's still resistance, where there's still fear, where there are still patterns that need to be dissolved. And when you embrace this as part of the journey, everything changes. Because you stop fighting the process and start collaborating with it. This is the real impact of conscious manifestation. It's not about controlling what happens, but about choosing how you respond. It's about maintaining your vibration, even when the external scenario seems challenging. It's about trusting the invisible, the intangible, the unmanifested. And this trust is what opens doors. It's what transforms trials into passages. It's what turns pain into a catalyst for growth. The hidden truth is that these tests are signs that you're on the right path. Because if nothing were changing, nothing would be challenged. And if nothing were challenged, you'd still be vibrating the same as always. So when everything seems overwhelming, breathe, acknowledge, and remember, this isn't the end. It's the universe asking if you're ready for the next level. Write down, I'm on this journey too, just so I know you're going through this process with courage. Because acknowledging the test is already a huge step toward a turning point. And now that this point is clear, there's something even more revealing I want to show you. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because as much as the theory makes sense, it's in real stories that we see the true impact of the crash before the turnaround. When you hear someone tell of how they lost everything and right then and there began rebuilding a more aligned, more prosperous, and more conscious life, something inside you awakens. It's as if your soul recognizes that there's a pattern, a hidden logic behind the chaos, and this brings hope. It brings strength. It brings clarity. I'll tell you a story that really struck me. A woman, an entrepreneur, a single mother, full of dreams. She began studying manifestation, immersed herself in the law of attraction with enthusiasm, used affirmations, visualized, and changed her habits. And then, suddenly, everything began to fall apart. She lost clients, had family problems, and her emotional health suffered. She told me she considered giving up, that she felt she was being punished for believing in something that didn't seem to work. But even without understanding, she chose to continue. She chose to trust. And it was at that moment that everything began to change. A new project emerged. She received an unexpected proposal, rebuilt emotional bonds, and, within a few months, she was living a reality that previously only existed in her imagination. She told me, It was as if the universe had broken me down to rebuild me right. That phrase stuck with me, because that's exactly what happens. Breaking down isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new version, and that new version only emerges when you navigate discomfort with awareness. When you understand that chaos isn't a mistake, but a stage, a preparation, a refinement, and this applies to any area of life. I've heard stories of people who lost jobs, and because of it, discovered talents that had been dormant. People who left toxic relationships and soon after found true connections. People who faced financial crises and, in the midst of scarcity, learned to create abundance from the inside out. These stories are not exceptions, they are revelations. They show that there is a repeating energetic pattern. When you decide to change, the universe responds. And this response doesn't always come with flowers. Sometimes it comes with cuts, with ruptures, with silence, but also with space, with clarity, with opportunities that only appear when you are clear, available, and aligned. And this is powerful, because it shows you that you are not at the mercy of chance. You are co-creating, even when it doesn't seem like it. The manifestation journey is made up of layers, and each layer requires surrender, a decision, a new mindset. And when you see someone who has gone through the breakdown and reached the turning point, you understand that you are not alone, that the process is real. That pain has purpose, that discomfort has direction, and that changes everything, because you begin to look at your own story with more compassion, more courage, more confidence. Comment below, "This makes sense to me," just so I know these stories are touching on something true inside you. Because when we recognize that chaos can be the beginning of a turning point, the journey takes on new meaning. And now that you've begun to see this pattern more clearly, there's something even deeper I want to show you. Because recognizing that you're going through the breakdown before the turning point is one of the most important steps on this journey. And it's not something that comes with a clear warning, as if the universe left a note on your door saying, "Attention, you are in the process of transformation." No, it manifests itself subtly, sometimes confusingly, but always with an impact that shakes everything up. And that's precisely why so many people get lost at this time, because they don't understand the signs. These signs, though seemingly random, follow a pattern. One of them is the feeling of chaos. Not just any chaos, but the kind of disorder that seems to arise from all sides at once. It's as if life is pushing you out of your comfort zone, forcing you to look at things you've been ignoring. You begin to notice that situations that once seemed stable begin to unravel. Relationships change, opportunities disappear, and even your routine seems to no longer make sense. And this can be frightening, but it can also be liberating. Another very common sign is unexpected loss. And here we're not just talking about material losses, but also emotional and symbolic ones. It could be the end of a friendship, the departure of a job, the end of a cycle you weren't ready to leave behind. These losses, however painful, have a function: to open space. Because the universe doesn't work with excess, it works with alignment. And for the new to enter, the old must leave. Even if that old was an important part of your story, sudden changes are also a clear sign. Suddenly you feel like changing cities, professions, or lifestyles, or external changes begin to happen without you having planned. It's as if everything is being reorganized by an invisible force, and this force isn't against you, it's guiding you. It's taking you to the place your vibration is asking you to be. But like all change, it requires courage, it requires commitment, it requires trust. If you're experiencing something like this, take a deep breath, because you may be closer to the turning point than you think. The discomfort you feel now may be a sign that your reality is adjusting. And this adjustment, though painful, is necessary. It's like pruning. What's being cut isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's the universe saying, "You asked for something greater, so let's remove what doesn't support this new one." And when you understand this, you begin to see the chaos with new eyes. You begin to realize that it's not the end, it's the beginning. This phase is delicate because it affects everything: your identity, your beliefs, your emotions, but it's also powerful because it forces you to take a stand, to choose, to decide who you want to be from now on. And these decisions shape your new reality. They define what you will attract, what you will sustain, what you will experience. And that's big, it's profound, it's transformative. Comment, "I'm on this journey, too," just so I know you're going through this process consciously. Because when we recognize the signs, we begin to walk with more clarity. And now that these signs are more evident, there's something even more revealing I want to show you. Because understanding what to do during the breakdown is what separates those who merely survive the process from those who truly transform through it. And no, there's no magic formula, but there are conscious choices that make all the difference. Because when everything starts to fall apart, the natural impulse is to resist. It's trying to hold on to what's slipping away, fighting what's changing, clinging to what no longer makes sense. But the hidden truth is that the more you resist, the more painful the process becomes. The breakdown isn't to be fought, it's to be navigated with presence. Maintaining a high vibration at this time may seem impossible. After all, how can you feel gratitude when everything seems to be falling apart? How can you affirm prosperity when the situation is scarce? But this is precisely where practice becomes real. It's at this point that you stop just knowing the law of attraction and start living it. And living the law of attraction during a breakdown is an act of courage. It's choosing to trust even without guarantees. It's deciding to vibrate light even when everything seems dark. Meditation, for example, isn't just a technique. It's a refuge. It's the space where you silence external noise and reconnect with your essence. And this reconnection is vital because it's where you find clarity, strength, and direction. It's where you remember who you are, what you're building, and why you chose this journey. And when you meditate with intention, even for a few minutes, you begin to reorganize your energy. You begin to clear excess, dissolve fears, and make room for the new. Affirmations also play an important role, but not as isolated phrases, but as declarations of identity. When you affirm, I am prosperous, I am guided, everything is aligning in my favor, you're not just saying words, you're reprogramming your mind, you're sending signals to your energy field, you're choosing a new narrative. And this choice, repeated consistently, begins to shape your reality. Even if the results aren't immediate, your vibration is already beginning to shift. And when your vibration shifts, the universe responds. Trusting the process is perhaps the most challenging step, because trusting requires letting go. And letting go requires faith. Faith that what's leaving isn't loss, it's liberation. Faith that what's coming isn't illusion, it's an answer. Faith that the universe isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. And this faith doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be present. Even if it wavers, even if it fluctuates, it needs to exist, because it's what sustains your vibration when everything seems unstable. Don't fight the process. Honor what's leaving and celebrate what's coming. Even if you don't see clearly yet, even if the landscape seems confusing, choose to trust, choose to align, choose to vibrate what you want to experience. Because this choice, made in the midst of the breakdown, has a profound impact. It shows the universe that you are ready, that you understand, that you are ready for the change. Comment below, this makes sense to me, just so I know this conversation is touching on something real inside you. Because when we choose to go through the breakdown, consciously, the transformation stops being a promise and starts becoming a reality. And now that you know how to position yourself in this moment, there's something even more revealing I want to show you. Because after the breakdown, after the chaos, after the seemingly endless confusion, something begins to change. And it's not just outside, it's inside. It's as if, little by little, the dust settles and you begin to see more clearly. The pieces that once seemed loose begin to fit together. The questions that tormented you begin to find answers, and what once seemed like punishment reveals itself as preparation. Life wasn't punishing you. It was shaping you. It was aligning you with what you asked for, even if the path to get there was different than you imagined. This turning point is subtle. It doesn't come with fireworks or a sign saying everything will be okay now. But you feel it. You feel something has changed, that you're lighter, more aware, more connected to what truly matters. And this clarity is a gift, because it allows you to make wiser choices. It allows you to say no to what no longer serves you and yes to what expands you. It's as if, after the storm, you finally see the horizon. And it's not just beautiful, it's possible. Opportunities begin to emerge, and they're not just any opportunities. They're those that align with your new vibe, with your new mindset, with the version of you that was born from the shattering. And this is powerful, because you're no longer trying to fit into places that don't belong. You're creating space for what truly represents you. And this space attracts. It attracts people, projects, ideas, paths. Everything begins to align. And this alignment isn't a coincidence. It's a consequence. You passed the test. You went through the cleansing. You chose to trust. And now, the universe responds. Not because you were perfect, but because you were true. Because you stood firm even when everything seemed to be falling apart. Because you decided to keep going even without guarantees. And that decision has an impact. It reverberates, it transforms. It opens doors that were previously invisible. Turning points aren't just about external achievements. They're about the inner peace that arises when you understand that everything has a time, a purpose, a greater logic. It's about looking back and realizing that each setback brought you closer to yourself. That each loss taught you to value the essential. That each silence showed you what truly matters. And that spiritual maturity, its evolution, its prosperity in its most profound form. Life isn't punishing you. It's preparing you, it's shaping you. It's leading you to a place where you don't just receive, you sustain. Where you don't just dream, you achieve. Where you don't just desire, you vibrate. And this vibration is what changes everything, because it doesn't depend on the external. It comes from within, and when it comes from within, nothing can stop it. Comment below. That makes sense to me, just so I know this conversation is truly touching you. Because when we recognize the turning point, even if it's still forming, the journey takes on new meaning. And now that this point is clear, there's something even deeper I want to share with you. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because after everything you've heard so far, perhaps you're beginning to realize that that moment when everything seems to fall apart isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of alignment. It's as if the universe is dismantling an old structure so that a new one can be built with more truth, more purpose, and more strength. And that's not just nice to say. It's real. It's what happens behind the scenes of transformation. When you begin to vibrate differently, life responds. And that response sometimes comes in the form of deconstruction. If everything is falling apart, perhaps it's because everything is falling into place. This phrase carries a powerful revelation because it changes the way you interpret challenges. It invites you to look at the chaos with more mature, more aware eyes, more connected to what's beneath the surface. And when you do, something inside you changes. You stop asking yourself, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this showing me? This shift in mindset is what opens the way for a breakthrough. A turning point isn't an isolated event. It's a process, a flow, a sequence of decisions, surrenders, renunciations, and reconnections with who you truly are. And when you begin to live this process with presence, everything takes on a new rhythm. You begin to realize that things aren't happening against you. They're happening for you. They're pushing you out of your limits, inviting you to occupy a more authentic, more prosperous space, more aligned with your essence. This journey isn't linear. It has twists and turns, pauses and new beginnings. But each conscious step you take brings you closer to the reality you're co-creating. And this reality isn't born by chance. It's born of your vibration, your intention, your willingness to trust, even when everything seems uncertain. Because it's at this point that the universe observes you most closely. It's at this point that it recognizes your surrender. And it's at this point that it begins to show you that, yes, you are ready. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you recognized the truth of this journey. And that already says a lot about your current situation. The conversation we've had so far hasn't just been about theory. It's about real life, about transformation, about navigating chaos with awareness and finding meaning even in the most challenging parts of the journey. If this content brought you clarity, made you reflect, or simply accompanied you in a moment when you needed the right words, please leave a like here. This helps keep this exchange alive and shows that we're creating something truly moving. And if you feel like continuing this journey with me, subscribe to the channel. This way, you'll receive future content and continue immersing yourself in this universe of prosperity, alignment, and expansion. The idea here is to build a community that vibrates together, that grows together, that understands that change isn't a destination, it's a state of presence. Oh, and if you stuck around until the end, comment, "I'm with you until the end," just so I know this message really reached you. And so we can continue this conversation in even more depth. There's a video right here that complements this topic. Click and stay with me there.